Hey, I'm Logan.
Oh, we're starting.
Yeah, I said okay,
Well, okay could mean anything.
but I had a starting tone.
But
What is your name?
Alyssa?
You sound very unsure of that.
Okay, what are we doing? What is this?
A podcast
Okay.
about movie marketing. It's called Marketer's Cut.
Okay.
Have you heard of it before?
No, can you tell me more about it?
Yeah, we talk about movie marketing, and it's called Marketer's Cut.
Well, more than that, like more in depth. Can you tell me about it?
Well, we talk about normally a newer movie and an older movie, except for this episode when we do something special for the Oscars.
Okay. Wow, it's almost the Oscar time?
It is almost the Oscar
Wow.
time. Yep, this Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm excited. So this week we are going to be talking about, we're going to be continuing our Oscar series, which has been a Best Picture winner one year, and the movie that we would have chosen for Best Picture had the original winner not won. We're doing that same thing this time, and we're banking on the fact that the heavy favorite for Best Picture actually wins Best Picture.
The very, very heavy favorite.
Yeah, so that's Nomadland. And we were originally going to do this episode after the Oscars, but you can blame HBO Max and Warner Brothers for pushing back Mortal Kombat. If we're wrong, we're going to blame them, you know? But we are banking on Nomadland winning Best Picture, so we're doing Nomadland and the movie that I think both of us agree. It's better than Nomadland, and we hope it wins, but it won't. Sound of Metal.
Yes.
So I'm very excited to talk about these two movies. I did really enjoy Nomadland. Don't get me wrong, Sound of Metal is just on a different level.
I agree.
All right, well, let's get right into it, because there's a lot to talk about, as always. Nomadland. So, this movie is directed by Chloe Zhao, and here's the synopsis from IMDb. After losing everything in the Great Recession, a woman embarks on a journey through the American West, living as a van-dwelling modern-day nomad. Pretty accurate.
Yes.
It's not telling any lies, not keeping any secrets. Before we get into it, what do you think about this movie? I mean, some very short thoughts on it.
I don't remember much of the movie.
That's fair. I've heard people describe it as a tone poem, and because of that, like I don't remember a lot of the like minute to minute events of the movie, but like the vibe of it is vivid in my mind.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I do remember the guy in it too. Her friend, Dave, was that his name?
Could have been.
He was great, but okay, yeah. I mean, I feel the same way. I think that as a movie, it didn't land with me right away, but I thought about it more and more, and the more I think about it, the more like fond feelings I have of it.
Yeah, I think I would honestly even like a rewatch to kind of take it in again, because I remember watching it and being like, whatever, we're watching another movie.
Well, we might get a chance to rewatch it in a different environment, and we'll talk about that a bit later.
Okay.
So this movie opened on February 19th, 2021, so this year, on Hulu, and in some theaters and like drive-ins across the U.S. Searchlight Pictures has distributed this, which is, you know, the same as The Shape of Water that we talked about last week. A big part of their like release strategy was to not ignore theaters, despite the fact that there's a pandemic going on. So they had some limited releases in some places, but they did like try to get the movie in drive-ins. Actually, in late January, the film got an IMAX release, which is extremely rare for a drama like this.
Yeah.
And I actually think that's not many good things came out of COVID. And but if we're looking for the good, where there's a lot of bad, the fact that a lot of these giant blockbusters are like holding off and not coming out on like these, you know, IMAX screens just yet and everything opens up space for a movie like Nomadland to actually get shown on an IMAX screen. When in reality, in a normal situation, that would like never happen. So that's amazing. I thought that was really cool. I mentioned it's on Hulu. It's being distributed with Disney Plus internationally, but in the U.S., like them releasing it on Hulu was a big strategic move to drive subscribers to Hulu and to also kind of boost Hulu's reputation as like a prestige streaming service. So if you look at what Hulu has, you know, they have a deal with Neon, which is the distributor behind like Parasite and Portrait of a Lady on Fire. So both of those movies are available on Hulu now, as well as some other Bong Joon-ho movies. Like I think Mother is on Hulu. And some good ones from him. And then Nomadland came out, and also Palm Springs hit Hulu in July of last year and was a huge success. And while that's not necessarily like a prestige drama, it did get a lot of critical acclaim. And we talked about it in our Palm Springs episode, but was very valuable for Hulu.
I know, but now you brought it up. And all those other movies got to be in the theaters.
Like Parasite and Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Well, so Nomadland did too. It did open in theaters.
I know.
But you have to recognize that we talked about a platform release with Searchlight last week about how they'll open in a small amount of theaters.
I'm talking about Palm Springs.
No, Palm Springs didn't get to go in theaters. You're right. But if we're looking at this movie, Nomadland, they opened in a small amount of theaters.
I don't care.
And the plan is to,
Why didn't they put Palm Springs in the theaters?
Hey, do you remember that in July of last year there was a really deadly pandemic that we're still in right now?
Yeah, I mean, I fucking guess. But can we do it again? Can we give it a release again and act like it's a new thing?
Maybe.
But can we at least get a fucking Blu-ray? That's all I'm asking.
I do want a Blu-ray. That's upsetting that they don't have a Blu-ray for it. Can we get Palm Springs and Criterion, please?
Yes.
Okay. So, back to this platform release. Searchlight, released Nomadland on, in some small amount of screens, small amount of theaters, and are slowly kind of bumping it up or keeping an eye on it. And one thing that normally causes movies like this to get to get a big expansion, I guess, is the Oscars, which is coming up this Sunday. Mm-hmm. So it's very possible that Nomadland wins Best Picture at the Oscars and gets a big expansion. And guess what? We'll be fully vaccinated, and we might be able to go see Nomadland on the big screen, which I think would probably be a better way to watch it than on Hulu.
I think so too.
So I think it's interesting. I think it's something to keep an eye on, and we'll probably tweet a little bit about it. Like I'll keep an eye on how they are going to expand it after the Oscars, and I really do hope it wins because I think studying this idea of like the Oscar bump and how that affects a movie's like financial success in the box office is really interesting.
I think so too.
So I'm going to keep an eye on it. Alyssa, I'm going to make Alyssa keep an eye on it.
Yeah, good luck.
And I hope you guys do too.
Logan, I don't even remember what happened in the movie, and you want me to keep an eye on our fucking shit. I don't know about all that.
You're right. So this movie did actually premiere at the Venice Film Festival on September 11th, 2020. And I don't know if you remember. I remember this movie being talked about for so long as like this great masterpiece of a movie and not being able to watch it anywhere. Mm-hmm. And it was really frustrating. One thing that also bothered me, I'll get to it in a second. It did premiere at Venice, and it won the Golden Lion Award there, which is like the top award you could win. It also played at the Toronto International Film Festival and won the Audience Award there. And it's the first film to ever win both of those awards at both of those festivals.
Interesting.
Really cool, really impressive. It was also sort of like the marquee film for the Chicago International Film Festival, which was a big festival. It had this movie, it had One Night in Miami. It had the Greta Thunberg, I don't know how to say her name, documentary. Mm-hmm. And we did get to watch One Night in Miami virtually as part of that festival. Nomadland was not offered virtually, though. It was a drive-in only screening, and it closed the festival as the final film of that festival in 2020. So it had a big festival run, won a lot of honors at a lot of these. At the Golden Globes, the film has already won Best Motion Picture in the drama category. However much you want to say that means, given that it's the Golden Globes. Mm-hmm. And it is a frontrunner in multiple large categories for the Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Director, has a shot at Best Actress with Frances McDormand. So in terms of the prestige that this film is bringing in with festival awards and festival honors and Golden Globes and Oscars, like it's a full package there, I would say. The budget was around $5 million. I don't have any like solid opening weekend numbers because the way this film's release has been going is rough, and Searchlight has not disclosed how much it made. So there were some estimates, but I don't want to include like the third party estimates. Mm-hmm. But for whatever reason, Searchlight has not officially disclosed how much the movie's made in the box office. The Rotten Tomato score has a 94% critic score and an 82% audience score. Any thoughts on that?
No, I think it lines up. I think that lines up.
I'm actually surprised the audience score is that high. One thing I saw is, if you look at Rotten Tomatoes and the critic score, there's like a critics consensus. It's a little like line that's under the score, and it kind of tells you, kind of summarizes what critics are saying about it. Mm-hmm. There's also an audience consensus, and the audience one for this was like, it's beautifully shot, it's great, and it might make you feel better about your own life.
Ooh.
And I think that's the wrong reading of the film.
Yep.
I think. So that was very interesting. So maybe it's got an 82 because I don't know. There's a large amount of people getting the wrong thing from this movie. Mm-hmm. Possibly. I don't know. I want to mention this because Zhao was she was born in Beijing and raised, I believe, in London. Mm-hmm. But there was initially a lot of praise for this movie in like Chinese social media outlets, and for a lot of blockbuster films, the China market's very important. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, originally there was some positive talk about it, but there was some past interviews from like 2012 or 2013 that emerged where Zhao was talking about China as a place where there are lies everywhere. And as of March 5th, 2021, any mention of Nomadland online is censored in China.
Wow.
It's still getting a release there, which I don't understand how that works.
Yeah.
But it's not expected to draw much of an audience. And given that any online mention is censored, I would imagine that you can't like advertise on social media.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how they're going to promote the release if it is getting a release. So it's not expected to really do anything or move any needles at all, which is unfortunate. But also there is some stuff going on in China, and glad that Zhao would speak up on it.
Agreed.
Don't fault her for that at all. So there's a Blu-ray for this movie, unlike Palm Springs, because this is not a Hulu original. Mm-hmm. Like Palm Springs was, and it is set to release on April 27th and you have to remember that Disney owns Searchlight, or owns Fox, which owns Searchlight. So it's, being put out by Walt Disney Pictures Home Entertainment. And that's great. It's just amazing. Our Disney overlords are everywhere.
Yeah.
Like every movie we talk about is like a Disney-owned movie now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not great.
A little bit.
So I got some final talking points on this movie. There's not a ton of weird marketing stuff that we found. All of the marketing is more about the release or the content of the film and how like it's playing its award status and stuff like that. But one thing that I think has kept the film in the online conversation has been its inclusion of Amazon. And so there's a group of people who criticize the film for portraying Amazon in a good light, for not showing, how Amazon like neglects workers and everything at its warehouses. Mm-hmm. And there's another, group of people that agrees that it doesn't like paint Amazon in a bad light, but that it doesn't need to, because that's not what the movie's about.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I am at. It's not what the movie's about. Amazon is not a villain in this movie in the normal sense of the word villain. And some people seem to want it being treated as a villain. I'm curious what you think about that.
I pretty much agree with you. I mean, Amazon just happens to be there, really. And that's it. I mean, that's kind of the whole thing. It's not about Amazon.
Yeah.
She just kind of works there.
And some people are like, well, why even throw the Amazon logo in there? Like, why even show that it's Amazon? And it is because the film is sort of like semi-biographical. It's based on a book called Nomadland. Mm-hmm. I believe there's some more negative stuff about Amazon in that book, but given like what the movie was trying to do, it wasn't trying to
take a huge dog shit on Amazon.
Yeah, it wasn't trying to. I don't know. When you adapt a book, you have to pick like what you're adapting from that book, and I think it picked something, and it's created some controversy. It's kept it. It's kept it in the conversation, and some people say no press is bad press, right? Or bad press is good press, whatever the phrase is. I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with it. I do believe there is something as bad press that is bad that people do not want.
I think they say all press is good press.
All press is good press. I think
Something
Army
like
Hammer would disagree with you. You know what I'm saying? See, it's not true.
Okay, well.
Because he ate people?
Okay, can we please move on?
Okay, I guess we can move on. The trailer. What do you think about the Nomadland trailer?
Yeah. I don't remember the movie, so I think it did good. They showed Amazon in there. They showed she's a nomad. They showed that her definitely her hometown was like hit by the depression pretty bad, or the recession.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
I thought the trailer was it captured that tone poem vibe, I think. You know,
But but a little boring maybe.
yeah, it doesn't show. I mean, not a lot happens in the movie that's interesting, so I gotta say it's probably hard to make a trailer based on it.
Yeah, I think so too.
But it at least like is able to point out the fact that Frances McDormand is an Academy Award winner.
That's true. I think that's important.
Yeah, exactly. So it has that going for it, and I think that the trailer doesn't carry this film. It's more like all the critics' quotes from the festival releases and everything that carry the trailer. The movie entirely relies on people thinking it's good, to then talk about it and get other people to watch it.
Well, we think it's going to win Best Picture, so it did an okay job.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So, what do you think about this poster?
This is not the main poster.
It is the main poster. There is the one with like the license plates, but this was like the first official poster for this movie. So what we're talking about now is the poster with the white border, has Frances McDormand's name in gray text real big at the top, Nomadland right to the right of her name in orange text, and it's the film by Chloe Zhao in orange text down at the bottom. I personally love like that white border frame of a poster.
Yeah.
I think I've talked about it on this podcast before. Like Logan had a poster like that, and that was amazing. So I think this poster is great. I think I tweeted it on the account actually, right when the poster was released, because it's a great poster.
Yeah, I also really like it.
Cool. Great. So do you want to talk about our marketing ideas for Nomadland now?
Yep.
All right. Do you have any ideas off the top of your head? No?
No.
I think that, man, it's hard.
It's hard. It's tough.
It's hard. I think that really you want to get Amazon behind you on this one, because Amazon's got a lot of money to invest. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not on Prime, unfortunately. It can't be on Prime because can you imagine if this movie was on Prime and this conversation about Amazon was happening?
No, that'd be a shit show.
Yeah. But, if I was a marketer behind the scenes of this film, I'd be calling up Bezos and being like, hey, do you want to help us out with this one? I throw you a bone, you throw me a bone?
Hey, Bezos.
Yeah.
I know you wipe your ass with that $100 bill.
Yeah.
Can you just toss a few over here?
Toss a few of
the clean ones.
The clean ones. Okay. Wow. Shout out to our friend Andrew's film about someone wiping their ass with money.
I don't know. He had
That's
one.
his feature. Is about that. We'll talk about it later. So I mean, I'd want to do something with that. Like maybe in the trailer, some subliminal messaging. So you have the normal stuff like Frances McDormand, Academy Award winner, and stuff like that. But then you have a little frame, and it's like, employees don't piss in bottles at Amazon warehouses, and then it's done. And then Jeff Bezos pays you $100 million.
Yeah, I think that's chump change for him.
Yeah.
That's kind of a good idea. I have an idea.
Okay.
I think it would be cool. They could have done it as like a trailer, maybe. To maybe even go around and meet people like this, and maybe screen the movie for them and ask them what they think about the movie or like what the lifestyle is like. And I honestly think maybe if people would have seen that, it wouldn't have been like the reviews you saw on Rotten Tomatoes.
So a lot of the people in this movie that are not Frances McDormand are actually like quote unquote nomads. Like they're people that are living this life.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's something that Zhao actually does. Her last movie, The Rider, which was like very critically acclaimed, also featured a lot of like non-actors, sort of people that are in the world that she's filming from. Which I haven't seen that movie, but it does give this movie like a documentary-like vibe. But I do think a trailer like focusing on like these people and highlighting that more than in the trailer would be interesting.
And then again, I think it adds just more context to the film that is already kind of like a slow burn the whole time. It'd just be nice to get their perspective and kind of hear what like the real people have to say about it.
Yeah. So what about Nomadland water bottles? Okay. And it says, Do not piss in this bottle.
What are you talking about? This piss?
Do you not know about this? So there's like multiple very credible reports that workers at Amazon warehouses they have a quota of how many things they need to like, pack in a certain time or
Oh,
go
I
grab
thought
at a
you were
certain
gonna
time.
say they have a quota of how many bottles they have to piss in.
I mean, essentially yes, because they are so overworked that they don't have time to run to the bathroom. Mm-hmm. So instead of taking the 60 seconds to walk to the bathroom and the 60 seconds to give or take to piss, I don't know how long it takes people and how long it takes me. I won't go into detail on that. They lose time, valuable time, and then they don't hit their quota. So there have been multiple reports of like people pissing in bottles or like drivers, defecating in bags. And there's like memos that have been out like, hey, please don't return the trucks with shit in bags, please.
Well, they deserve that.
And then so there's an Amazon News Twitter account. It's like at Amazon News, and they recently went on a tirade against people. They were responding to like AOC and anyone who would criticize Amazon. And they're like, people actually don't piss in bottles at our warehouse. They don't do that. Get your facts straight. And it was wild. So that's what I think. I think Amazon could have paid a lot of money. And even though this movie isn't about painting Amazon in a good light, if I was like, on the marketing team behind Nomadland and wanted some marketing funding, I would trick these Amazon assholes into giving me money for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So a little water bottle, Nomadland water bottles, and it does have text that says, please don't piss in this water bottle. And then Amazon warehouses would be like forced to buy them up for their employees. Do you know what I'm saying? Now the employees would still piss in the bottles. But Amazon would be like, hey, we bought them these bottles and asked them specifically not to piss in bottles. So I don't know what the problem is. It's not our fault anymore. We'd have no liability in this situation.
I think something that would be cool. I mean, obviously these people move around a lot, but obviously they move to specific places. I don't know if they're like campgrounds or what. Mm-hmm. It'd be cool if the people who made this movie, I don't know what you would call them.
Filmmakers?
Well, not exactly.
Directors?
No.
Okay.
Someone else.
Producers?
Okay, listen, I don't know. You can tell me after I say my fucking idea. Give me 1 second.
Film crafters?
So, if they went to some of these places where these nomads, like, will stay or frequent, they might go somewhere else, but they might have a lot in that area, and, like, kind of decorate it nice. Like, put money into it, like, almost like a home makeover thing, but it's just this one place. Except they do it for a couple. Mm-hmm. And it's just, like, kind of nice and updated and stylish, and makes, like, people, I don't know, I would even be like, hey, you know what, that'd be cool. Let's go check that out, I think it could be something kind of cool.
Yeah, I'd be worried about like turning it into like tourist attractions. We kind of talked about this with the Parasite episode,
Oh yeah.
But I do think investing into some of these like makeshift communities that they have, these people don't care too much about like material belongings, which is completely fine. But also these places they stay at have bathrooms that might need some updating or something, or it'd be nice to have stuff like that, or maybe like some common. Common, what am I trying to say? Like park type, I don't know, common spaces for people to like congregate in and everything. Just kind of officialize that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
Yeah. Cool. You want to move on to the next movie?
Sure. I think it's called The Sound of Metal, not the
It is called The Sound of Metal. So
Okay.
The next movie, The Sound of Metal, is on Amazon Prime. So if anyone's listening to this for Amazon Prime and they're like, are they good marketers for our movie? Should we hire them? Everything I said before was a joke, and I don't believe any of it.
Okay, let's...
Except for the part where people piss in bottles. I know they 100% do that.
Please talk about this movie.
Yes, so the Sound of Metal, not The Sound of Metal, it's just Sound of Metal, directed by Darius Martyr. Here's a synopsis from IMDb. A heavy metal drummer's life is thrown into freefall when he begins to lose his hearing. Again, pretty straight shot. Not lying to you. That's it. What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's fine. I'm just looking at the budget. What does that mean?
Okay. So this movie opened on December 4th, 2020 on Amazon Prime. It had a very limited theatrical release, like 2 weeks before. Mm-hmm. And I bet that was probably to get the film eligible for awards.
Mm-hmm.
But its official opening was December 4th, 2020. So the budget, there I couldn't find an official number for the budget here, but low seven figures means like low millions.
Okay, that makes sense because a
So
lot of people do like 5 millions and
yeah, I would say it was less than 5 million. I would assume low seven figures means like 2 to 3 million.
because I was like, wow, that still means a lot of money, and then I realized no, they all are a lot, usually a lot more money. I like couldn't comprehend numbers for a second, but okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that was on a really, really limited budget, and I think a lot of this movie looks great, but I also think a lot of it doesn't have a. I mean, it's my favorite movie of last year, so don't get me wrong, but a lot of it doesn't have a very refined like visual style, and that is because of how low budget it was. Like they shot the whole thing on 35 millimeter film, chronologically actually, which is interesting. They shot it in order of how it all happened.
That is very chronological.
But Martyr was limited to only 2 takes per shot because one, film is expensive, and two, time is expensive. So you had to like move fast
Yeah.
to shoot something like this. So the budget was very low, and I read a lot about how hard it was to get this film made. How there was another filmmaker who was trying to make something similar and ended up kind of passing the reins to Martyr because he can never get it made. And Martyr worked on it for years before like getting the financing. A lot of that is very interesting, but I don't think necessarily fits into the scope of the show, so I'm not going to talk about a ton of it. But I will link like the article that talks mainly about it in the show notes and stuff, 'cause I think it's really worth reading. It's very interesting.
Okay.
So again, no solid opening numbers for this movie, so we'll jump straight to like the Rotten Tomatoes. 97%
Yes.
critic, 91% audience.
Yes.
Yeah. Now the audience score again shocks me on this one because like both Nomadland and Sound of Metal are like slower films,
Yes.
and normally I don't think the audience score like falls as close to like critic scores for films that are like this slow, which I don't think is a knock on these films. So I think that the fact that it still has that 91% score is pretty amazing, and I'm glad that it's resonating with a lot of people. Actually, at the end of last year, Sound of Metal appeared on 52 film critics' top 10 list for 2020, and average is the ninth highest ranked film, which I think is extremely low. Really, but it won first place on 5 lists and second place on 7 lists. So like, it is considered one of the best films of last year, and obviously it was one of the 8 Best Picture nominees this year for the Oscars.
Yeah. I just don't think anyone knows about it.
Yeah, the budget was so low, and you can kind of tell that like the advertising for it is also very minimal. I mean, like Amazon pushed it a little bit right when it came out, but since then, like you're only kind of hearing about it. It's a lot of like earned media type stuff, which is like these articles that are maybe written about it. Like read about Riz Ahmed's journey to performing this role, or Paul. Like I read a great article when the movie, like right after I watched the movie the first time, about Paul Raci, who plays the head of like the deaf community in this film, and read a ton about him and like his life and everything. So that kind of stuff is great in terms of getting people interested in the movie, and it doesn't really cost anything. Like if you have the story there, then you should have PR representatives that are able to reach out to these platforms and say like, hey, like here's an interesting story that I think you guys should want to tell or something, and so it's more like a win-win for both, for like the website, the publication that's writing about it, and the film itself. It was announced that Sound of Metal will become part of the Criterion Collection, hopefully along with Palm Springs, but who knows. And it'll get that Criterion Blu-ray release in 2022, and I'm gonna cop that so fast.
That's really far out for a Blu-ray.
Yeah, the Criterion Blu-ray pipeline, I guess, like how long it takes them to get that stuff put together takes a minute. Like they get together some Criterion unique Criterion special features to include with the Blu-ray, and they also always include like a little booklet with a written piece about the film.
Oh yeah.
So they also have to get that like taken care of as well, and then also getting it into production takes time and money and everything. So it does take a while. But I'm very excited for it to come out. I think it deserves it, and it'll be a great Blu-ray down. And one of this interview that I talked about was really good, or this article. There was one thing that I thought was interesting, and Martyr, this is a quote from Darius Martyr, and he says, Hollywood didn't want to hear about two things, heavy metal and deaf people. Hollywood loves to pat itself on the back for representing this, that, or the other, but when you're trying to do it, man, it got no love. It was the end of a conversation before it even began. And that just kind of goes to show, like, how unlikely it is to get a film like this made at the level that it was made at. Like, Martyr didn't compromise on a ton of things that, like, financiers or studios wanted him to compromise on. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, that is true. Like, when it comes to deaf people, you don't see a lot of films about deaf people. And you don't see a lot of films about heavy metal. Like, it's just not something that hits, like, a wide audience. Mm-hmm. So his perspective there was really interesting. They eventually did find some financing from a company called Caviar, and their film arm had experienced some earlier success in films like Marielle Hellard's Diary of a Teenage Girl, who was also like the director of A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. And also Caviar financed Chloe Zhao's The Rider. So, the director of Nomadland's previous movie partly existed because of the same company that funded Sound of Metal.
Well, we also watched Diary of a Teenage Girl together.
We did. We saw it
at theaters.
Yeah, we saw it at university.
I thought so.
In Athens. Yeah, I mean, it was a good movie. Yeah, it was a really good movie. And I think it's just interesting how, like, this film is kind of behind these movies that either we've seen or that connect to, like, the film that we just talked about. And I think that it's interesting, and maybe it means that Martyr's, like, next steps are, more widely recognized, like Zhao's work on Nomadland. Mm-hmm. And also, I didn't mention this, which I should have, but she has directed Marvel's The Eternals, which is coming out, I think, in November of this year. It's been pushed so many times. I don't know the exact release date. But she's, like, went from a couple of critically acclaimed independent films to directing a movie for one of the biggest companies in the world. Mm-hmm. But definitely the biggest film company in the world. So, maybe Martyr's career will look similar or something. And whether that's good or bad is up for you to decide, I guess. Another thing about this one is that Martyr wanted to open caption all prints of the movie. So do you know what open captioning is?
Not completely, no. Could you explain it to me?
So closed captioning is like when you're watching a movie and we turn on closed captioning and we get the subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing. Mm-hmm. Open caption is when you don't turn it on. It's hard-coded into the film. The subtitles are on the film, and also, like, all of the action descriptions and sound descriptions and everything are also on the film. So there's no option to turn it on or off. And so it is not like that on Amazon Prime. It is not open caption on Prime for whatever reason, but every place that it's played in theaters, it is open captioned. There are captions on it the whole time, not just dialogue, but everything in the film, to make it completely accessible to deaf audiences. Which was very important for Martyr to do. And here's a little quote from that too. He said, "The choice to open caption a movie is not a little choice. Everybody told me, including everybody in the industry and friends, don't do it. You won't be able to sell the movie. People won't want to watch it, and people will be angry." And there was some sort of compromise there because it's not like that on Prime. I've heard that the open captions are better than the closed captions that Prime provides, but when you go see this in the theater, that is there, and still very rare in the industry.
No, I have a question. There's a lot of sign language. Would they caption that?
Yeah.
That's nice, because there was some stuff we really didn't get that was like that in the thing, and I was like, I wonder what they're saying, but I'm fine without it, you know?
I believe it would caption everything, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, because, I mean, I would assume most deaf people in the audience are familiar with sign language, so wouldn't need it captioned. But from what I understand, it captions everything. Again, I hope this gets an expansion in theaters after the Oscars, because I would love to see this one in theaters.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm actually even more curious to see what the open captioning on a big screen is like. Cool. So, what do you think about the trailer and poster?
Good. I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, I feel like the trailer, it doesn't get the complete vibe, but I don't want it to get the complete vibe.
I guess I don't think it's possible to. I don't think the trailer is amazing. But the synopsis of this movie was enough to get me to want to watch it. But I think the trailer is a little generic. It uses like the drums to create like this intensity in the trailer, but the film's not like that at all. So I didn't love the
It
trailer,
it
but
is at the beginning for a portion of it.
it's intense, like in terms of like the anxiety you feel, but it's not like heavy drum hits intense. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. So, I mean, I agree. I thought the trailer was good, but like it wasn't anything special. Same with the poster. I think the not caption, tagline's good. Music was his world, then silence revealed a new one.
I also like there's like specs. It looks like this photo was shot on 35 millimeter or like some kind of film. And if it wasn't, they edited it to look like it just from the imperfections from it, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree. That is interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's get into our marketing ideas for Sound of Metal.
Okay.
You have anything?
Well, I know you have one because you told me it while we were watching it.
I forgot. What did I tell you?
I believe it was about like sign language lessons.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I kind of said that for Shape of Water last week, too. This is the second movie in a row that we're talking about that.
Oh, well, then maybe it was that. Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
No, but I also do think that, something about, like, sign language lessons in this movie, like, I don't know, maybe there's a way to engage, like, that learning of sign language, because, so Riz Ahmed is not deaf. This movie is about somebody who has experienced hearing and who loses it. There's actually a name for that I think I read in that Paul Raci interview.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between like people who are born deaf and people who lose it and like have that world of hearing, I guess, to contrast like their current life to. And there's a name for like the two types of people who experience these two different situations.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that because of how this movie talks about, somebody who could hear and then lost their hearing and had to go in and learn sign language, like promotional materials or educational materials where like maybe Riz Ahmed, the star of the movie, is like helping teach sign language, is interesting. Maybe there's a race Riz, the Riz race, where he's doing the alphabet and sign language like they race in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And, you're supposed to race him and see if you can finish it faster than him.
That would be interesting. And also, they came up with a sign for him. Like, he had his own sign where it looks like his eyes were getting big.
Oh, yeah, it's the name sign.
Yeah. And I think it'd be interesting to, I don't know, like I don't know exactly how they came up with that for him, but like how maybe you could do that, or how you can come up with your own or something like that.
Yeah. No, I think, and I guess I'm ashamed is the word to say that I haven't started this yet, but I saw this movie and thought to myself, like, I should try to learn sign language. I think it would be different than learning like a different language because like you're learning, I mean, it's American Sign Language. It's like it's very based off of like English, like the what we already know. So I do think that like this movie, I think it already inspires people to want to learn something like that. And I think doing something more to help that out would be amazing.
Yeah, I agree. You and I have talked about that for a while, which is why I haven't started. But I think we need to start planning like once a week or something where we start learning. And it'd be easier to learn together and practice together, I think.
I agree.
So that's definitely something we should work on.
Yeah. Do you have any marketing ideas for Sound of Metal?
I'm not sure. Again, you don't get as much. There's a lot of music heavy at the beginning. I would like to see, I mean, obviously, the whole thing is like, no one cares about death metal, and no one cares about deaf people. So, or like enough to make a movie about it. You know, they're like, fuck them, we don't care. But I think it'd be really cool to do also like death metal sign language. Like, I want to go to a fucking punk concert, and I want to see the punks talking about the band in sign language.
So what if they did like a music video of Lou and shout out to Olivia Cook for Lou in this movie. She's also amazing.
Yeah, she was really good in this movie.
But like, I'm thinking of like Freaky Friday. You know how Lindsay Lohan had her song
Yeah.
They played at the end, and I know there was like a music video associated with the movie and everything. You do like a Sound of Metal music video, but it's on like that live concert, recorded concert kind of feel and everything. And you have like Riz playing the drums and Olivia Cook singing, but you also have someone else on stage like signing, you know, and as into it as like Olivia Cook is.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
He'd be like that guy who signs for like I think like Keisha Lance Bottoms and stuff, like for like these Georgia events. You know what I'm talking about? Have you seen? Yeah, he's like really into it and amazing. No, I think that'd be great.
Okay, great. Do you have any more ideas?
I feel like we should think of one or two more.
Yeah.
You know, the people are asking for them, and we need to deliver.
Okay, well, it's your turn. I just said mine.
Oh, I thought mine was the music. Well, you kind of said that, and then I kind of added on to it. That was ours. Okay. Last one. I'm surprised that they haven't released an awards poster. You know, all these films get like awards posters. Like,
I'd love to see an awards poster for this.
Yeah, and maybe like if it wins an Oscar, which, you know, it's nominated for like sound and editing, and I actually think it can win both. It can and should win both of those. But those are very hard categories to win. Like against movies like Greyhound is also nominated for sound and editing, and like normally war movies, I feel like have a leg up in those categories for some reason. But I mean, if it wins, it'd be nice to get like that award poster, and it's like Oscar winner, and it has like the awards it won and everything.
That would be really cool, but not this exactly, because I can see them taking off the title, and it could be, you know, very La La Land-esque is what I'm thinking of, where it has like all of the.
Oh yeah.
But I don't want that. I don't know what I want. I don't know if I want him. I don't know what I want him doing.
Okay.
What do you want him doing?
On the poster?
Yeah.
So when you're thinking about the awards poster, it's more people are aware of what the movie's about. I think we talked about. I made a lot of references to other episodes, which I think is good because that means we're talking about some really like relevant things in movie marketing. But there's one episode where we talked about like the stages of marketing. It's coming to me. It's almost coming. Gone Girl. They did this in Gone Girl. So the lead up to the release of Gone Girl, the marketing was very like playing on the suspense and like who did it. But then when the film was like super successful and they're like, oh, we need to like keep advertising this and keep putting this out there, they shifted the strategy to talk or to focus more on like the not worrying about spoiling the movie, I guess, like encapsulating the whole thing. So I think an awards poster, which is like further into the release of this movie, and a lot of people either have seen it or are like very aware of what it's about and like the whole kind of journey that he takes. Like he goes to this thing. I'd want to see like something of him with like the kids in the school or something, or him like interacting with these people in this community that like, you know, he starts to really connect with.
I think it'd be amazing because again, he has his own sign for his name. I'd love to see him doing that. If not, the other kids lining up to do it, or even just the kids. Fuck it, fuck him. It's just the kids and they're doing it, you know?
Yeah.
I think that'd be really interesting.
Yeah, no, I do think that, and I unfortunately don't think that there's been a ton of money put behind the marketing of this movie.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they had a big budget.
But I think there's a lot to do with, like, now that the movie's been out and everything, focusing a lot on, like, that second act of the movie where he's, like, at this community and, like, interacting with all these people.
Yeah, I want that to be... I mean, when I watched it, I was like, well, I didn't know this was going to happen, but I'm really enjoying it. But I guess now that there's a little bit further in the process, I guess you could show it. But I like not knowing.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, I think that's pretty much everything we can talk about this week. Hopefully Nomadland won Best Picture because that makes this episode more relevant. And hopefully Sound of Metal won at least one Oscar. It deserves it.
Yeah, I think so too.
Riz Ahmed is nominated for Best Actor, and I personally think I would pick him for Best Actor. But Steven Yeun is nominated for Minari, and Chadwick Boseman is nominated for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Yeah, and they were all really good.
Yeah, I wouldn't be upset if either of them won. No, if what's his name? Gary Oldman won for Mank. Or Anthony Hopkins for I haven't seen The Father yet, but I don't know. I hope Riz Ahmed wins. Yeah, you ready to wrap it up?
Yep.
Well, find us on Twitter and Instagram at MarketersCut. You can find the podcast anywhere you can find podcasts or on YouTube. Learn more at marketerscut.com. I want to thank Jacob Wall for his art. Find more of his work on Instagram at Jacob Art Wall. And next week, we are going to be talking about the new Mortal Kombat film that is releasing on HBO Max. And I think it's actually releasing the day of or after this episode drops. But we'll be talking about it next week. And we're also going to be pairing that with another very new, hot, stylish video game film, Sonic the Hedgehog. Which I think is amazing and a really fun movie. And if you haven't seen it, watch it before the episode and get prepped for some good old fast Sonic action.
Yep.
All right. See you guys.